Hey everybody, Tim Dwyer here from South Australia. Well, I tell you, I am in an absolute state of confusion. I don't know whether to start yelling and screaming and swearing and kicking and punching, or whether to sit here and strategize and calculate and use a cooler head. So I'm going to do both. Well, as you may well have heard, the absolute assholes in Parliament have already voted 96 to 45 to pass this insane controlling omnibus bill, basically, that will literally shut down all political dissent in this country. Welcome to North Korea here in Australia. And I am absolutely bloody outraged by the bloody shit show that these people put on, and they get paid for doing it on your purse. Let me share the screen. I'm going to bring you some stuff that just might upset you a little bit, and I hope you lose a lot of sleep over this, and I hope you give a lot of thought to what I'm about to show you. Let me bring this up. Let me get this here, and let me do that. Whoops, wrong one. Who knew, right? Well. Listen to this. Albanese was the co-founder of the Parliamentary Friends of Palestine group. He co-established it in 1999. Friends of Palestine. This man hates Jews. You see, you cannot be a friend of Palestine and do the river to the sea shit without having a hatred for the Jewish people. Right? Now, Albanese have been described in interviews and histories as a founding member. Susan Ley, oh, here we go. Susan Ley was a past convener, co-chair, leadership figure in that group. They're both in the same bloody group. They hate the Jewish people. They are pro-Palestinian, which means pro-Hamas. Hamas is a internationally recognized bloody terror organization who this little communist twat supported. Now, Ley joined the Parliamentary Friends of Palestine shortly after being elected to the House of Representatives in 2001. She served in a leadership capacity, co-chair or convener within that group. They were backbenchers at the time when Albanese he founded the group in 99, and he was a backbencher. And Ley also joined early in her parliamentary career in 2001. This is the shit we call the honourable. Get your head around it. They are taking home millions of dollars out of your pocket while they support Hamas. Think about it. Now they want to do this bill which will disarm, take a ton of guns out of the defence of ordinary people in this country, so as that when the Muslim Brotherhood come through and try and do to Australia what they've done in other countries, there will be no defence. Here it is here, 96 to 45. What an absolute shit show. Now, I know you've all seen this, but here's the oath to sit in our parliament by law, not by theory, not by somebody's rough idea, by bloody law, and then the affirmation of which Albanese did an affirmation because he wouldn't dare touch a Bible. I, Anthony Norman Albanese, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors, according to law. Now, the name of the King and the Queen can be changed. This is what he actually said. This is his oath. I, Anthony Norman Albanese, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will well and truly serve the Commonwealth of Australia, her lands and her people in the office of Prime Minister. That is bullshit. That is fraud. That is a lie. That is sedition bordering on treason. That's who you call the leader of the country, the Honourable. That is the oath of the Republic of Australia. These two and any other man or woman who voted to pass the new hate speech laws must, by law, be considered traitors to the people of Australia. Labor, Liberal, the Greens, the parties, all connected to those parties must be considered domestic terrorists ruling by fear, intimidation, threat, and incarceration. This is what we've come to, Australia. This is what we've come to. These two here, supposedly opposing each other, are friends of Palestine in the same organisation. Can you figure it out? Can you figure out what's going on here? If you can't, go back to the bloody footy or the tennis or the cricket or whatever the hell's playing, or get deeply engrossed in some friggin' cooking show on TV, because you're useless to the rest of us. Every member who voted to pass this communist, Sharia law-loving, freedom-hating bill, my personal feelings is revulsion, repugnance, abhorrence, loathing, resentment, bitterness, contempt, disgust, and distaste towards every single one of you. Interfering with political liberty. Any person who, by violence or by threats or by intimidation of any kind, hinders or interferes with the free exercise or performance by any other person of any political right or duty shall be guilty of an offence, and the penalty is imprisonment for 3 years. The entire bloody Australian government has just committed that offence. They are trying to stifle the voices. You know, the next thing you know, One Nation will be a political hate speech organisation because of these laws. And you say, well, that doesn't affect me. Yeah, well, the church you go to, if it starts preaching about Jesus Christ and the love of Christ, which goes against the Quran, you'll be next. You'll be next. If you go to Australia Day and you go, Australia is the best country in the world, that's hate speech under this law. Section 83, Criminal Code Act, 1995, interference with political rights and duties. Read this. Know it. Ladies and gentlemen, what we now have in Canberra is a Sharia law, Jew-hating organisation called Labor and Liberal and the Greens. By their very own actions, by their very own associations, by their very own admissions, this is who they are. This is not what Australia's about. This is not who we are. Sharia law says, you got a little girl aged 9, let's marry her off to her uncle and let him have sex with her. Sharia law says, let's mutilate the genitalia of women. Sharia law says, if you don't bow down to Muhammad, we will behead you. That's not who we are here in Australia. That's who Albanese wants you to be. That's who Susan Ley wants you to be. But I'll tell you what, they're going to have to take my bloody head before it'll happen. Look at this. This is now making sense. This pasty-faced looking thing here wearing the glasses, Anthony Norman Ellery, who changed his name to Albanese to get a vote, gave the Muslims clerics who want to wage jihad here in Australia, He gave them $27 million. When are you going to wake up? When are you going to stand up? When are you going to shut this lot down? We're in a constitutional crisis. Look, really quickly, there is no such position as Prime Minister in our Constitution. It's a fraud. There's no such thing as a political party in our Constitution. It's a fraud. There's no such thing as the Parliament of Australia. That is a fraud. It does not exist at law in our Constitution. There is no such thing as the Great Seal of Australia in our Constitution. That's a fraud. There's no such thing as the Australian Electoral Office. That is a fraud. The High Court sits without royal assent, without any authority. It is a fraud. The Governor-General has no Crown authority. She is an $800,000 a year bloody auto pen diversity hire. She has no authority. She's there to tick the box that Albo tells her to. The states have all become part of the Republic of Australia under the fraud of the Australia Act. Here's a good one. The ATO is not a legal entity and has no authority. It is a fraud. And the Australian dollar has no royal prerogative for its creation. It too is a fraud. And anybody out there in the legal professions or whatever you are, and remember, the word legal is to the undoing of God's word. But you want to have a crack at me? You go bloody right ahead, sunshine. A pretend law made in excess of power is not and never has been a law at all. According to Justice John Latham of the High Court of Australia, and this was said in 1942. 1942. I just showed you that the entire Parliament doesn't exist. A pretend law made in excess of power is not and never has been a law at all. Now, Sir Henry Talbot Gibbs says that he has therefore come to the conclusion that the current legal and political system in use in Australia and its states and territories has no basis at law. There's two High Court judges telling you, and you still sit there sucking your thumb. Look, we just got a new shipment of constitutions. This is the reprint of the 1901 Quick and Garran. You want to know what I know? It's in the bloody book. You want to buy a book and get educated? Look, they're $195 plus $15 postage. Email Corinne at cm@outtrueaustralia.com. She'll get it sorted. It's in the book. Look, this is our website, right? Our website is outtrueaustralia.com. All right. Now, under legal documents, the second document on that page in our website says this, and you can download 1,000 of them, download 10,000 of them, right? At law claim and notice of withdrawal of consent. All the legislation they passed says that it is with granted or implied consent. And you sit there and go, oh, what can I do? Well, you can withdraw your consent to all government entities operating on the landmass known as Australia. This is the lawful and formal claim of you, Bill Smith, or Bill and the last name Smith. The under autograph is domiciled in the state known as, for me, it's South Australia. The under autograph has not been presented with any material facts or evidence of a lawful contract between him or herself and the belligerent corporations that purport to be de jure government without royal assent, that provides the evidence that the under autograph knowingly gave up his or her allegiance to the lawful original system of government under the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act 1900 UK, as proclaimed and gazetted, non-copyright version under the royal seal, to become a corporate citizen of corporate Australian government and believes none to exist. What that means is they've got to produce the contract that you signed willingly, knowingly. The under autograph now withdraws all and any form of consent, either granted or implied, to all and every aspect of the belligerent corporate structures purporting to be governments, courts, police, local government corporations, or agents of operating on the landmass known as Australia, as we believe none have completed the lawful oath or affirmation of office as per the schedule and in accordance with section 42, and all are trading companies or corporate entities with their own ABNs without actual royal assent. That is a fact. The under order graph. Now, here we go. You ready for this? The under order graph now proclaims his or her allegiance to the lawful constitutional form of government as described in the schedule of the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act as per, hang on, my little thing's in the road there, as proclaimed and gazetted, non-copyright version under the royal seal. Now, here's where it is, people, here's where it is. We will come back under our constitution. Once we are back under our constitution, our lawful constitution, we the people can have the referendums to then decide what sort of parliament, what sort of leadership we will have. So, the oath, I, Timothy of the tribe Dwyer, do swear that I will faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Victoria, her heirs and successors, according to law, so help me God. Put your signature there and have somebody, your mate, witness it on that date. Now, here's where this gets powerful. Having received this document, so we go and hand this document in to the members of parliament, to the police stations, to the courthouses, to the local council, to the parliament themselves, right? Having received this document, any act on behalf of the corporate government entity or agent to affect, restrict, diminish, or cause harm. Now, harm can be financial, property, material harm, to any sort of harm, to the endorser will be taken and understood by all parties to be an act of aggression and war against the Commonwealth, and will come under the Crimes Act 1914-1960, the Commonwealth of Australia, section 24 through to 24 AA 25. This is a political declaration to free oneself. Now, this is your declaration. To free oneself from the belligerent, unconstitutional, corporate method of governance perpetuated by fraud, deception, and intimidation, influenced and controlled by unelected foreign entities on the people living on the landmass known as Australia. And we now declare the reformation of our lawful constitutional parliament complete. We, the people, are non-combative and non-belligerent, and under international law, with that in there, they can do no damage to you. And at the end of it, it says, in a legal context, fraud is generally defined as dishonestly obtaining property, a financial advantage, or causing financial disadvantage through deception. This can also involve making false statements, misrepresenting the facts, or using deceitful means to gain an unfair advantage. And that is exactly what they have done. That is exactly what every member of parliament has done, state and federal, and they've done it for bloody decades. Treachery. 24AA, a person shall not do any act or thing with the intent to overthrow the Constitution of the Commonwealth by revolution or sabotage. Again, this is exactly what they have done. They've done it for decades and decades, inch by inch by inch, and they've sabotaged us to overthrow by force or violence the established government of the Commonwealth. They are not the Commonwealth. You and I are the people of the Commonwealth. A person who contravenes a provision of this section shall be guilty of an indictable offence called treachery, and the penalty is imprisonment for life. Albanese, Lay, the whole bloody lot of you, Morrison, Dutton, all of you are all guilty of this. And you will, if we pull this off, you will go to prison for life if you are found guilty of treachery. Period. End of bloody story. We, the people, have had an absolute bloody guts full. Australia is a signatory to this. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion, expression, and this right includes the freedom to hold opinions without interference, to seek and receive and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Do you get that? We are free. We will not bow down to your bullshit laws. We will not bow down to your Sharia goat friends. We're not going to do it. You will not turn Australia into a fucking pile of rocks. No way, Jose. With the current state of the political shit show in Australia, is it now time to reintroduce a lawful constitutional parliament? Is it time to restore a constitutional government? Is it time to bring to a halt the destruction of the Australian culture? We will no longer tolerate your treason, your treachery, your theft and your lies, the fraud, the deception, the destruction of our culture and our laws and our lives. It is time for we, the people, to bring our country back under a legitimate parliament. My name's Tim Dwyer. My suggestion is go to that website, print off as many of those papers as you want, fill them out and take them into the police station, the courthouses, give them to every member of parliament. You don't even have to put them in an envelope, just walk in and put them in. We don't have to go to Canberra by the tens of thousands or millions so as that those fascist bastards can radiate us again. We don't have to go there so as they can trump up, the federal police can trump up charges and tell lies like they've done before. We can do it from home and we can go down the street and we can drive into the towns and we can hand in these documents and just hand them in, hand them in, hand them in. And then we will set the parliament. And it doesn't have to be set in Canberra. We can reset a parliament in a location where they will not come and irradiate us and try and shoot us for trying to be free people, for trying to have the love of freedom and liberty, liberty in all things. I will not suffer Sharia law. I will not surrender to a Muslim. I will not bow down to any cowardice bastard dressed in any uniform that wants to jackboot march to the beat of some drum like the Nazis did. If you're a copper listening to this, pay attention. You're not exempt. Once the Sharia law gets in, your daughters will be mutilated too. My name's Tim Dwyer. I am pissed off. I am angry. But this has been long thought of. This has been long in the planning on both sides. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that in the Holy Scriptures, it says 365 times, do not have fear. Be not of fear. Fear not. Have courage. One for every day of the week. Do not be fearful. Stand up. You were given a spirit of boldness, not a spirit of fear. We are still a Christian nation, holding on by our teeth. And it's up to you. You've seen what's happened in Iran. Iran used to be the Paris of the East, and then it turned into a shithole for Sharia law. I don't hate anybody, but I am bloody highly biased against a lot of things. Let God do the judgment here, but let you and I do the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim Dwyer. I do live in South Australia. I do love this country, and I will, with every last bloody drop of blood I got, I will stand, I will try and protect it, and I can't do it on my own. Thank you.